There are some game ideas that sound quite ridiculous for just 5 seconds at times, and then you start thinking about them and realize they could actually be more than amazing. A Lego version of Resident Evil 4 is one of those ideas. See, on paper, putting Leon Kennedy, chainsaw enemies, a castle, and the whole Spanish village into a colorful Lego game sounds wrong, of course, but somehow that's exactly why it could work so well. Like, Resident Evil 4 already has a strange mix of horror, action, dark humor, and completely crazy moments, while Lego games have spent years turning serious worlds into funny adventures. Put those two things together and you could have one of the funniest horror games basically ever made. So, well, first of all, there is no official Lego Resident Evil game right now in development. There's been no announced Lego collaboration for Resident Evil 4 or any other Resident Evil for that matter. Still, the idea has clearly caught the attention of a lot of people, with players sharing Lego versions of Resident Evil 4 scenes and even, recreating parts of the game in Lego animations out there. One fan-made recreation of the opening sequence received thousands of positive reactions from the Resident Evil community, with people openly saying that they wanted a real Lego Resident Evil game. That doesn't mean a real game is coming, of course, but it shows there's already a fun idea sitting right in front of Capcom and Lego. Think of it for a second. The village would probably be the perfect place just to start. Instead of Leon walking into a realistic Spanish village covered in mud, blood, and darkness, you would see a beautiful little Lego town sitting quietly under the evening sky, wooden houses fill the streets, chickens run around between the buildings, and tiny little Lego villages go about the businesses. Then Leon walks into the village and realizes something's very wrong. And suddenly everyone turns toward him, grab whatever weapon they can find, and the entire peaceful little town becomes complete chaos. The best part, in fact, would be watching the serious characters of the game try to survive inside a world that refuses to take itself seriously. Leon could still act like Leon, of course, but now his hair is made from plastic pieces, his jacket's tiny printed little details on it, his famous serious face is to deal with a giant Lego chainsaw coming just straight toward him, and Lewis could still make his joke, Ada could still appear as exactly in the right moments, and Ashley, of course, could still spend half the game running away from you and the danger itself. Except now everything around them is made from bricks. That would give the game a very different kind of humor without destroying the original story. Lego games are at their best when they let characters behave seriously while the world around them becomes completely ridiculous. Leon could calmly explain that he needs to rescue the president's daughter while standing beside a giant pile of Lego chickens. A Ganado could lose his headgear during a fight, pick it up, put it back on, immediately get hit by a flying chair. None of these jokes need long expectations because the visual comedy would do most of the work itself. The combat, of course, could translate surprisingly well too. Resident Evil 4 has always had a very clear action system. A Lego version could keep the basic idea while making everything much lighter. Leon could still use his pistol, his shotgun, rifle, knife, and other weapons, but instead of realistic violence, enemies would just break apart into piles of Lego pieces when defeated. The chainsaw enemies could still be terrifying for a few seconds, but then when Leon finally knocks them down, the whole character could explode into hundreds of tiny little pieces of bricks. That would make the game feel more like an adventure than a horror experience, which is exactly what a Lego version should basically do. The limited ammo idea, in fact, could even stay. Leon shouldn't have unlimited ammunitions just because the game is made from Lego. Finding bullets, collecting weapons, and searching for buildings could still be part of the fun. The difference is that the danger would now be funny instead of disturbing. You might open a wooden box expecting some ammunition and find a bunch of Lego bananas instead, whatever. And then there are, of course, the puzzles, which could become one of the best parts of the whole game. Resident Evil 4 already had plenty of strange doors, switches, statues, symbols, keys, small little environmental puzzles. Lego could take that idea much further. Players could break objects apart, rebuild them, move Lego pieces into the correct place, and use different characters to just solve different sorts of problems and puzzles. Leon, in fact, might destroy a machine, while Ashley finds a missing piece needed to repair it, and Lewis could build something completely ridiculous that somehow works perfectly. The castle would be even better, If the village is funny, the castle could be completely insane. Huge Lego walls rise above the landscape, giant statues stand in dark halls, and every room contains something strange. Salazar could become one of the funniest characters in the entire game because his ridiculous personality already fits Lego humor almost perfectly. His tiny little body, his huge castle, the dramatic speeches he makes, and complete confidence, would become even funnier there when everything around him is made from bricks. Ants falling apart. Like, imagine Leon meeting Salazar for the first time and looking at this tiny little Lego man standing on a huge throne. Salazar gives his dramatic speech, Leon just stares at him, and then the scene moves without anyone acknowledging how strange the situation is. Like, that kind of humor would perfectly. The regenerators, in fact, could also be handled in a very clever way. They shouldn't become genuinely scary because that would break the Lego tone of the thing, but the game could still make them strange and uncomfortable. The bodies could wobble as they walk, the faces could look slightly creepy and funny. The movement could be slow and unnatural. Then Leon shoots them and a bunch of Lego pieces fall off the bodies before they slowly put themselves back together and, walk again. And of course, the island could go even further with comedy. Military enemies, huge machines, helicopters, armored soldiers, massive explosions would all give the final part of the game a much bigger scale. Everything could break apart during combat, allowing players to rebuild parts of the environment and use them against the enemies. That destruction, of course, could become one of the main reasons to explore every location. Lego games are built around breaking things, and Resident Evil 4 has an incredible number of objects that could be turned into little rewards. Treasure hunting could also become even more fun, because every item could have its own design, Obviously, the merchant, he could become one of the biggest stars of the game. His shop could appear in strange places throughout the world with the same mysterious voice and the strange attitude, except now we're standing behind a tiny little Lego counter surrounded by weapons. That would just be perfect, in fact. Co-op side, on another hand, could make the game even more interesting. Two-player could control Leon and Ashley, Leon and Lewis with different characters depending on the level. The second player could help solve puzzles, collect stuff, fight enemies, and simply just make the adventure more chaotic. But regardless of all of that, underneath all that comedy, the game could still respect Resident Evil 4. That's important because this isn't just another random Lego crossover. The original game completely changed the series when it released, so moving Resident Evil toward a much more action-focused style while keeping its horror roots is important. It wouldn't need to replace normal Resident Evil, it could just exist as the weird, funny, completely ridiculous side of the franchise. And a fan base that has already shown interest in seeing the two worlds collide, there's a lot of potential here. If this ever becomes real, it wouldn't need to be the scariest Resident Evil game or the scariest Lego game, it would just need to be fun. Give us a village, give us a castle, the island, Leon, Ashley, Ada, Lewis, and the merchant, and every ridiculous enemy in Lego forms. Then let them break the entire place apart, brick by brick. Because sometimes the best way to revisit a classic horror game is to take away all the blood, replace it with plastic pieces, and somehow make the whole thing even more entertaining.